You know, I never thought buying my first house would turn into this epic saga of neighborhood drama. But here we are, sitting in my cozy living room in Willow Creek, a quiet suburb just outside Seattle, looking back on how one petty feud with my HOA president nearly broke me, but ultimately made me stronger in ways I couldn't have imagined. It all started back in 2018 when I moved into this charming little ranch-style home on Maple Lane, the kind with a big backyard perfect for gardening, which was my escape after a rough divorce that left me starting over at 42. I poured my heart into that yard, planting heirloom tomatoes, building raised beds, even adding a small pond with koi fish that shimmered in the afternoon sun. For a while, it felt like paradise, until Martha Higgins, the iron-fisted queen of our homeowners association, decided I was her new target. Martha was this retired school principal in her late 60s, with a perm that hadn't changed since the 80s and a glare that could wilt flowers from across the street. She ran the HOA like her personal fiefdom, enforcing rules with a zeal that bordered on obsession, all because, as I later learned, she had this deep-seated grudge against outsiders like me who didn't grow up in Willow Creek. See, my property backed up against a community green space she coveted for her own expansion, plants a little vegetable patch she wanted to claim as common area to boost her status at board meetings, and when I refused to budge on a minor fence dispute, thinking it was just a misunderstanding, she escalated things fast, slapping me with fines for unauthorized landscaping that totaled over $2,000 in the first month alone. I'd come home from my job as a software engineer, exhausted after debugging code all day, only to find violation notices taped to my door, accusing me of everything from overgrown weeds which weren't even bonito noise complaints about my pond pump that barely hummed louder than a whisper. The real kicker came one rainy Tuesday evening when Martha showed up unannounced, pounding on my door like she owned the place, her umbrella dripping all over my welcome mat as she barked, "Alex, you're in violation again. That pond of yours is attracting wildlife, and it's a hazard. Tear it down by Friday, or I'll have the board vote to lien your house." I stood there, stunned, rain pattering against the windows like it was mocking me, and tried to reason with her. "Martha, come on, it's just a few fish, and the rules say nothing about ponds under 200 gallons. Let's talk this out over coffee, neighbor to neighbor." But she just sneered, her voice dripping with that fake politeness that hides pure venom. "Neighbor? You're no neighbor of mine. You waltzed in here thinking you could change things, but this is my community, and I'll make sure you learn that the hard way." That night, as I paced my kitchen, staring at the stack of fines piling up like bad karma, I felt this crushing weight, like the world was testing me, you know? Why me? I'd resisted the urge to snap back, even when my buddy Tom from down the block whispered over beers that Martha had a history of bullying newcomers because her own life was a mess. Her husband left her years ago for someone younger, and she channeled all that bitterness into controlling the HOA, manipulating votes by cozying up to the old-timers who feared her wrath. For months, it felt like I was walking through a storm that wouldn't let up. I'd appeal the fines at board meetings, only to get shut down by Martha's cronies, a bunch of retired folks who'd nod along like puppets, one even muttering under his breath, "Just pay up, kid, she's got the bylaws on her side." I'd lie awake at night, questioning everything. Had I made a mistake moving here? Was this some cosmic joke, putting me through this heartbreak after I'd already lost so much in the divorce? But deep down, something inside me refused to break. I'd whisper to myself, "Hold on, Alex, you've bent before but never shattered," drawing on those quiet moments in the garden where I'd dig my hands into the soil and feel grounded, literally. It wasn't punishment. I realized it was like life was stripping away the superficial stuff to show me what I was really made of, revealing strengths I didn't know I had, like patience in the face of injustice, or the quiet resolve to document every single interaction, snapping photos of her inspections that bordered on trespassing. Then came the silence, the hardest part, where it felt like nothing was happening, like my complaints to the city were vanishing into a black hole. Prayers, if you can call them that, or whatever higher power, for a break going unanswered. Weeks turned into months with no response. Martha ramping up her game by spreading rumors at the annual block party that I was trouble, whispering to folks like Mrs. Jenkins next door, "Watch out for Alexis trying to undermine our traditions," which isolated me further, making simple waves hello feel awkward and forced. I remembered thinking of stories I'd heard, like that guy in the news who lost everything to a corrupt HOA, and wondered if I'd end up the same cursing fate, bitter and broken. But in that void, I dug deeper. I didn't lash out, didn't stoop to her level by keying her pristine Lexus or anything stupid like that. Instead, I sought my own heart, realizing this wasn't just about a pond or a fence. It was about standing firm when everything screamed to give up, loving the idea of community not for what it gave me, but for what it could be. Looking back, the reason this mess dragged on so brutally was because the stakes were high, not just my backyard, but my sense of home, and Martha's grip on power that she'd built over decades, fueled by her fear of losing control after her personal life crumbled. She didn't pick on everyone, only those she saw as threats, like me with my thriving garden that made hers look neglected by comparison. One of the toughest blows was when she pushed through a vote to redraw property lines, claiming historical precedent that would shave off 10 feet of my lot right through my pond, and I had to hire a surveyor out of pocket, draining my savings. All while she gloated at the next meeting. See? The rules are clear, Alex. Maybe next time you'll think twice before challenging the board. Her words stung, laced with that mousy triumph. But they lit a fire in minute rage, but a steady burn to prove her wrong. And prove her wrong I did, in a twist that felt straight out of a movie. It started innocently enough. I was researching HOA laws online late one night, coffee gone cold beside me, when I stumbled on a forum post about auditing board finances. Curiosity piqued. I requested the HOA's public records through the state, and lo and behold, after weeks of that agonizing silence, the documents arrived like manna from heaven. Turns out Martha had been skimming funds, nothing huge, but enough shady reimbursements for personal expenses like her spa days labeled as